Now I'm going to talk about the pitch Bible of Recess, the new Bell. The sort of sequel series to the original Recess that a lot of people were sort of interested in weirded out. You have a little bit different devices of opinion. Even that is sort of a pitch Bible. Even that on top of it, we don't know this pitch Bible is a real thing. What I mean is we don't know this is decided to be greenlit or not. It just sort of was a pitch Bible, it got canceled automatically because the company decided to not to actually accept it. But because it's so interesting and sort of weird, give you an idea what this might become if they decide to continue greenlit it. Because Recess, the new Bell, is actually very odd, weird, but at the same time very true of the original Recess. If you forgot, because I know some people did because of nostalgic goggles, that the original Recess was actually kind of dark. That never meant to run in front of your face of darkness is that how the does explain when you fully adult, life doesn't go how you actually want it. And that they sort of give direction of the original cast because this pitch Bible have part A and part B. Part A is all about the kids who the new generation of Recess, and part B is sort of the last generation, TJ's and gang, what happened to them. Each one of them have a plot twist, a sort of a dark timeline, and also a good timeline. Depends what you thought what they gonna happen after they grow up. And believe me, the adult gang do have really dark timelines. But I think this is so interesting because you think this sort of be a bad idea, especially how media in Hollywood doesn't really understand what diverse inclusive really is because every time they do it in a very pretentious way. We're not really getting it what is inclusive around all different races and people. And this pitch Bible feels they understand what supposed to do, but at the same time people who read it says it feels sort of pretentious. In a way, yes, but at the same time the original series wasn't perfect either because the original series was cliche but done so well. It's one of those like you see every single original cast member in all the other sidekicks that you do know every single character is sort of a cliche or stereotype but done a very interesting fun way. In fact, how the creator put it is sort of a kid point of view and they actually does work. And this one, how I read it, everything, it does feel exactly like that. Now, before I continue, my name is Rachel. I like to talk about animation, not just animation reviews, first impressions, cartoon theories, and sometimes, if I have some spare time, cartoon breaking news. Of course, you'll like how it's going, you'll like to help my channel, pull like, comment, and subscribe. That's all you need to do. If you don't, that's fine too. If you do, thank you. I'm completely grateful if you do. And I don't really have much to say, just let's talk about the Gigi leak of the leak pitch Bible of Recess. Now, let's talk about the cast first than anything else. And each character is a little different. Our main lead is Ruby, a second right hand is Matijo, the third character is Panelli, and the sort of the drama queen Simone, and our final quiet character, the inventor called Mount Everest. Sorry, I had to say he's Everest, but it sounds more interesting to say Mount Everest. It's just sort of the same word, not words. But besides that, each single character do bring something in the table. For example, Ruby and Matijo are very interesting to sort of main leads because Ruby is sort of the cliche leader in a way, the one who jumped first and asked questions second. But at the very end, she wanna have fun. But I think one of her weaknesses is sort of her short temper that she does not like people being abused their own power with other people. And once more, that's sort of a very cliche main lead, but yet this is Reese's. They very good doing cliches, so it could actually work, but at the same time, not really work because Hollywood has a habit of making boss girls sort of a little bit overconfident. So hopefully they know how to balance this. This is what they made her very one specific flaw is her anger, her moving to action without actually thinking, and this is what Matijo comes in. That this is Ruby's right hand man. Matijo is sort of the opposite of Ruby. That Matijo is the type of guy who would like to talk things. He is a thinker type of person who basically is sort of kind of a salesman. That he talks, he smooths, he compliments, and he convinces you to join him or give whatever trade he actually needs. This way, both of them complement themselves very well because they sort of know each other to preschool to elementary, so they have this strong dynamic. But at the same time, I'm sort of surprised because these two characters usually are the opposite spectrum, if you will. That I mean, usually these two characters, the writers always have that tempted to hit each other in their own heads because how different they are is how easy to create fights because how recognizable those type of characters really are. So you can see what I mean. It's very tempting of the writers to actually make that actually happen. But because how the backstory was written, they sort of pushed away that sort of thought process. And top of all this, also eliminate the romantic tension about these two characters. So two things are automatically eliminated in the writer's room. That really says so much of the creators that rethought these two characters. To me, of all the five characters, these two characters really works what they try actually to do. Of course, how the pitch of their relationship, how they actually know each other is sort of interesting because how both of them complement each other, how Ruby needs Matijo, how Matijo needs Ruby because they're yin and yang. One is brawn, and the other one's a thinker. So it really makes sense why these two dynamics work so well. Now, the next three characters sort of worry me. For example, primarily that he is sort of the YouTube internet star in the group, but he usually is a stunt double, the guy who likes sort of stunts over the top. In fact, how I read the pitch Bible, he's the type of guy sort of accidentally become famous because one of his own stunts went viral. But he had this sort of kind of surfer dude bro, like he's a bro, he's so chill and relaxed, sort of like Keanu Reeves sort of bro, that he just chill and give really good vibes, but accidentally give sort of wisdom by accident. That sounds very interesting, kind of sounds like Mikey, but interesting enough, this could easily backfire if they actually focus on the YouTube side of the story, because sometimes every time they use the kid internet star, usually it backfires because it sort of misunderstands what the YouTube actually does, because they think it's pretty easy to be famous, but they always forgot all the kind of bad things, the pressure that people really knows you, they won't leave you alone, and figure out what your next video will actually think about what is sort of the timeline now. So you have a lot of issues. The only time I see this character work super well is sort of Jurex's work, Camp Contreras, Brooklyn. It's the only character I remember of entertainment animation to actually nail that YouTube sort of star, because she really breaks down the things what have to do becoming a YouTuber or an influencer in her case. So that's why I'm sort of worried that sort of misunderstand uses this character, but how they pitch his backstory, he sort of does stunts because that's how he feels, like he's an adrenaline junkie. And to me, it makes sense how he used his skills in the group. So maybe can well execute it. Just don't use his YouTube backstory as a main lead plot story of the main lead. If they understand what a YouTube actually does. Once more, it's a character that sort of worries me. The other two also worry me. Let's talk about the next character, like Simone. Simone is sort of a adopted Chinese child from two Jewish couple who like theater, so she became the theater kid. But her talent is sort of disguises, makeup, and sort of kind of performances, and that sounds fine if sort of adult mature person that actually work doing scams. But this is a kid. Every time they use a kid who has that sort of skill, it's sort of kind of mockery, but at the same time, you can actually make it work because it's a 50-50. They sort of have to fully understand a drummer kit what her talent is, and the subscription says she can make fake real blood, or make a cast, or make clothes that can fit the situation to convince someone something bad happened, or they attempted to sell something. Once again, they can actually work, they also actually backfire. But on top of this, don't forget, this is a pitch Bible. I mean is, everything I said about this pitch Bible can easily change of the pilot, it also rechanged again to funny in the anime series. So we don't know this is submitted or changed later on. But once again, it's sort of interesting how they want to use her in this group. And also how makes sense complement the group and her skills. They can rechange everybody. The sort of scenarios they need a quick costume change, or convince someone is sort of someone's brother or aunt or something like that. But once again, it could be really cheesy or really good. It depends how well the writers really is and aware what this character can do. On top of that, the performance of the voice actors. But once more, a lot of ifs, a lot of things will change. Now let's talk about our next character. Now, all the cast kids I'm worried about is Everett. Everett, the type of character, how they say in the pitch Bible, he has sort of a spectrum kind of problem that he cannot really talk to people because he's sort of shy and he focuses on his work. He doesn't notice or how to talk to other people. But he sort of pitched as a who understands the team. He is the soul of the team. And that's fine. Even that he doesn't really want to talk, he usually is quiet. He only talks because he feels he has something to say. Once again, this could actually does work, but every time they put a character on the spectrum, it sort of kind of fails. Even sometimes it does work. Something like Sheldon from Big Bang Theory, he is in the spectrum, but the only problem is he's sort of the over exaggerated version. But also, I've seen other characters who are in the spectrum, like Johnny from The Rise of the Turtles, but he was sort of the low in the spectrum. That you blink, you miss it. Because people told me, Johnny, if that's Turtle Run, he has the sort of spectrum sort of problem. But the only problem is they do not focus on enough. That you see him in the corner panicking, he doesn't know what to do. That's pretty normal, people who have spectrum sort of issues. But yet, that's the problem, that you do not notice because you have four characters on once doing a lot of things, so you sort of miss that performance. And once again, this also can happen because people who see this character realize maybe he's a boring character, I just don't get him, because the camera is not on him. To show someone who has sort of an issue, you have to see his point of view. You have to hear his heart part. You have to see how he reacts slowly, how he sweats, how he panics. He wants to say a word, but he can't. He won't. He doesn't know how to. And his friends see this and they go the extra mile to realize he needs help. That's kind of how you do it. I know it's sort of over saturation, but yet this is a visual medium that you need to see what he sees, how he says it, how he struggles. And that's sort of the main problem. Every time they do a character from the spectrum, you need to feel what he feels. He doesn't talk that much. And that's sort of hard to do because sometimes you end up like Sheldon, other times you end up with Donnie. So that's the thing. You have to find this sort of medium sort of point because that's sort of hard to officially pull off. Of course, now talk about the old gang. What actually happened to them and what is sort of the weird things they did to them. Now let's start with TJ. That he has sort of kind of the second uh, darkest timeline now where it's because TJ became a drifter because he sort of wasn't sure what he was doing in his life, that he was sort of figuring out things, so he decided to ask Spinel to be his girlfriend, to be serious, and she was sort of freaked out because she was in a mental state and sort of dropping it off, saying, you know, break this up, I can't work with you. And this is what TJ got depressed and this depression forced him to create sort of his own version of the Game Boy. That Game Boy was super successful, become a billionaire. The only problem is he wasn't happy, so he gave it up. It became sort of a drifter. And this is the point of the rest of the new gang finds TJ and to convince him to help their main problem. And this is what people are basically talking about, how each single character of the original gang had a bad timeline, a good timeline. But it sort of makes sense because the original Recess always sort of warned the kids that after you grow up, things get hard. It's sort of a roller coaster ride. And that is sort of true to the original series, true to this sequel series to TJ. To me, it feels right. I know some of you kind of disagree with me, and that's fine. But now let's talk about what happened to Spinel. Now, she is sort of interesting because what happened to her is very similar to what happened to TJ, but the only difference is Spinel actually have the good timeline. That she was sort of in college, trying to dropping up, joined this sort of punk rock group or a bunch of lesbians that she wasn't sure she's a lesbian or not, and this is what it made TJ, and she broke it off. But later on, she met Vince, and Vince is sort of the one who sort of convinced Sabanel to clean her act and realize who she is and what she needed to do, and she became back to college. Then she became a lawyer thanks to Vince. Because of this, she will support Vince after that. And after that, she became her lover slash wife and husband and has the kid Ruby. And that's sort of the main lead of these two characters. But interesting enough, Vince also have a good timeline. That Vince is sort of always been the not the optimist, the realist of the group. That he attempted to become an NBA, but he didn't have enough skills. So I think he went to, if I remember right, to maybe Japan or Italy. I think that he played the NBA there for a little while. He quit, came back, but because he was sort of dating Spinel, Spinel forced him to do better. So he decided to do better, went to back to college, and became sort of a coach for elementary school students becoming basketball players nowadays. And that's what happened to those specific characters. And that I'm okay with. 100% sure a lot of people were sort of disappointed because people wanted TJ and Savanel to end up together. But even that, they point out in the original series Recess, they're not meant to be. So it sort of continue on where you left off in that sort of romantic kind of shipping. But besides that, let's talk about the last two members of the original gang and probably the most out there ideas. Now, Gretchen was sort of interesting because Gretchen used to be the small, tall, skinny little girl who is actually more like a thinker than anything else, and everybody expected her to be great and actually graduate from high school, as she did. She graduated from Harvard after she graduated to the in Nessa, but everything she does was one up herself. But till one day she decided to change her look, basically becoming sort of Barbie slash scientist because she did a lot of operation on herself because probably she didn't feel comfortable how she looks. She wanted to make herself more beautiful. And this is what I mean. They made her sort of the Barbie slash scientist that she wanted to feel gorgeous. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it also sort of asks a lot of questions why she decided to go that direction because in the series, she never was sort of kind of nothing wrong with being kind of take. Like she never felt she was sort of not beautiful or never went that direction in the original series. So it's sort of strange they went that direction. But yet, it kind of makes sense, kind of in a way. I don't know you. That's how you felt. But with the how the pitch Bible says that she come back being herself, that very beautiful Barbie, but yet still Gretchen, that sort of clumsiness. So they tried to keep the soul of the character still intact. That sort of subtle change. But yet it's sort of interesting they went that direction. Now let's talk about the next character. Now, remember I say two characters, some of you say you miscounted as three. It's for a reason. That what happened to Mikey is sort of something that I think everybody will not stop talking about because he actually died in this series. Yeah, Mikey, the level big guy who actually sings, but he has that sort of superstar sort of storyline that actually makes sense. That he was sort of famous as being a sort of an opera singer, that he was exceptional and people loved him when he's singing, that actually hired him for sort of a grand sort of kind of play of his singing. But he sort of dropped off because he became sort of a guru, that he became more spiritually aware. Once again, that is true to Mikey, but he sort of died this sort of mysterious illness. Because of this, he sort of not read, he left a book specifically for the gang because spiritually he knew they needed his guidance. So before he died, he wrote a very thick book of all his proverbs and all his wisdom on that book because he know they will be united as one again. So this sort of a as they making a sort of storybook for the gang for sort of putting in the direction they need to. Once again, a very odd choice, but very dark, but yet it's sort of comforting and also makes sense because once again, the original Recess always been not afraid to go dark sometimes. But yet I do respect it. Yeah, I do like this storyline, but 100% sure a lot of people doesn't. Just remind you, this is a pitch Bible. This will change hundreds of times. So we don't know if it's going to stick to it or not. Now, the last one is sort of a left turn. Like, what will happen to our final character? Now, I hope you're ready for it because I wasn't. Gus became Nikki. Yeah, Gus actually had a sex change inside the military. The reason why is because you really remember the first time we introduced Gus in the original series, the first season, that he always felt off, and because he never found his way, that sort of same storyline continued when he joined in the military. That he was sort of a proud legacy soldier. Like his father fought up before him, he became a military man. He became one of the highest ranking officers in the army. But he never felt right. He always felt something not genuine till he realized he wasn't he, it was a she. And believe it or not, the military tempted to kick him out because he has a sex change. But because the media caught this on and it showed him in the poster of how the army is accepting sex change, giving good promotion in the military, they could not kick him off. So they have to sort of readjust and figure out how to use Gus in the military. But how the Pitch Bible says, that wasn't his biggest problem. His biggest problem is facing his friends and his family, the new change he created himself, and hopefully that will be accepted of him. That's possibly how the pitch bubble says that will be his biggest challenge. And that is sort of what happened to the whole group. And I was sort of surprised and intrigued at the same time because the original creators, just remind you, wanted this timeline because he felt could be more truer in real life than pretending each one of them actually have a happy timeline. Because let's face it, how many times you see a anime give you that everybody have a happy timeline that just doesn't make sense because some characters don't feel deserve that timeline or doesn't make sense of their sort of development having that timeline. And this is one of the few times the creator realized that and they realized they had to give him a bad timeline, a good timeline, and a mediocre one. And I was sort of surprised they went through it. Of course, this is a pitch Bible, everything would change. But even that, the plot story, the thread of this maybe first season is even weirder. That is, the whole point of regathering the gang and the new gang is the fact stop Randall, who is basically Gretchen's right-hand man, the old hag, basically trained this crazy little kid becoming the principal. But this principal is corrupted because Grendel, he is now kind of crazy that He wants to create the school like a prison yard, sharing the profits with the other people who make prison, and convincing kids to do free labor for him. In other words, slavery. Yes, they were going that direction, but the new kids like Ruby and trying to convince the adults what's actually going on, and no one believed it because it sounds so crazy. And I'm thinking, wait, the movie went crazier, and I was like, come on, no one believed this school becomes something else, some crazy person trying to take over like last time, but yet how the pitch bubble says they didn't have enough evidence to make people believe because she's a child. This is the reason why they were hunting TJ down to convince him to help them because he's TJ. He is the legend, the myth, the sort of top dog back of the chips. That's why they want him to bring back, but it wasn't a surprise to them what he became. But TJ, not really interested. He's still misery of his own life, what became him, till they actually convince him, show and prove, especially what Randall, who is in charge, his worst enemy, and what's he doing. Now he wants to stop them. But the only problem is, he doesn't have the research or the team to help him to finally nail him down. And that's sort of interesting because this one, I mean, they have 2+ stories, at least on the first season, if they go in this direction. Remember, this is sort of a pitch Bible. Everything would happen here will change in the future if they say to continue this series. We don't know this series is canceled or not. But besides that, if they continue it, you could see the whole plot story, how the kids trying to do, or at least the new generation tempted to stop Randall, his old ideas to delay him, and the rest of the gang trying to figure out to connect the team and figure out how to take him down. Once again, that could be the first season. Sounds crazy, sounds good, but the creators instead on this pitch bump at the very beginning, they want to satisfy the adult fans and the new fans and just sort of make this grand, crazy ride, but yet give it a kid sort of point of view. Once again, being true to the original Recess. And once again, this is sound crazy. You know what? I kind of like it, but at the same time, I'm not sure they can pull it off because once again, this is Hollywood. Hollywood have sort of been sort of pretentious sometimes, and this sounds very pretentious. They can easily mess it up if they don't be careful and actually research every little detail about the characters and their background and their jobs. But once more, that is something I'm panicking. But because of the creators, I do have a benefit of the doubt they actually can accomplish this. If not, remind you what happened to the Recess movie. That movie is absurd, but you believe it. You believe this grand ride. You believe TJ can actually take down this sort of crazy ex-principal trying to control the world and make basically snow day forever so you can hide all the kids in school and increase their level of intelligence. That would happen in the movie. If you don't believe that, this is not for you. But for me, as an old fan, I do believe it. I have confidence this can actually work. It's just that question. They actually can't pull it off, and this is still on the development side yet, because remember, they do have I think it was a live action series of Recess, so we don't know that's still in development or not. This is plan B, or they're working on both ideas. I honestly don't know. But for you, what do you think of it? You like this pitch, you prefer to change it, or you prefer to wait, see what happens, then confirm this is actually a cancel or still greenlit? Tell me down below, let me know. I got nothing else to say, just thanks for watching, don't forget to subscribe, and have a wonderful day. Bye.